New Jersey is not alone in having to worry about drones. A Chinese national was just arrested in California for flying a drone over a Space Force base. The U.S. Attorney's Office announcing he's charged with violating national defense airspace, that he was illegally taking photos from above the base. The incident happened on the same day, November 30th, when a, quote, sensitive payload for the National Reconnaissance Office had been launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base. That launch took place at night. It was later that day when the base's drone detection system spotted the rogue drone flying up to a mile high above the base. Security personnel were dispatched. They intercepted the suspect at a public park, drone in hand, where they spoke with him, and according to a federal affidavit, he admitted to having used a hack to fly above no-fly limits. The suspect is a 39-year-old Chinese national and permanent U.S. resident. He told base security he knew it was probably, quote, not a good idea. He was arrested by federal officials on Monday at the San Francisco airport right before boarding a plane to China. The drone and his cell phone were searched, where agents found photos of the base, quote, taken from an aerial viewpoint. They also found he'd searched online for Vandenberg Space Force Base drone rules a month earlier. Joining us now, my old pal Heather Nauert, who served as State Department spokesperson during the Trump administration, also formerly a Fox News anchor. Heather, great to see you again. It's been a long time.
Great to see you, Dan. I know, too long.
All right, so how vulnerable are we to these sorts of drone threats?
We sure are. Look, we live in a free society. People can come and go as they please, pretty much. And you have something like this happen. I think the bigger issue is China and our adversaries trying to grab every opportunity for intelligence from the United States. Now, we don't know if the guy who was arrested in California is a spy or not, but we do know that China has infiltrated our country. We hear every single day about hacking attempts, whether it's on healthcare corporations or all the major telecom companies right now. So we are under threat. You also have China infiltrating governors' offices and at the state and local level as well. So China wants to get our information, wants to get our intelligence and beam it back to China. They're a very real adversary, and we need to start having a conversation in the United States about how exactly we're going to work around this.
That's what I was going to ask you next. I mean, so what do we do? I mean, what are the possible solutions here?
I think part of it is making sure Americans are aware that this is a threat. This is something to be taken seriously. Second thing is we have to call the Chinese government out, and they don't like to be called out. I went on several trips with Secretary Pompeo and others to China where we would have very difficult face-to-face conversations with them, and we would tell them basically to knock it off. Now, it might be too far gone. There are some things that we will not be able to prevent, but we can work to hold China accountable for some of its actions. We can sanction them. We can really turn the screws and make life quite difficult for them. Now, they have consulates over here. I'm just throwing out potential scenarios. If we want to get really tough on them, we can start closing down consulates. That kind of thing doesn't go over well with the Chinese government because they want to have their people be able to get visas and so forth. But we did it with the Russians before. That's just one tool in our toolkit. There are lots of others.
All right, let me switch gears, different subject. President-elect Trump has named some new ambassadors, many of whom have ties to his family. Ambassador to France, convicted felon Charles Kushner, who is Ivanka Trump's father-in-law. Senior advisor for Middle East Affairs, Mossad Boulos, who's Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. Ambassador to Greece, Kimberly Guilfoyle, longtime Donald Trump Jr. fiance. And then there are a whole host of donors and friends, which seems more typical, right? I mean, we expect donors, friends to get ambassadorships to some degree. But is this normal, the amount of familial appointments we're seeing?
Yeah, it actually is. There are two kinds of ambassadors. There are political ambassadors, the type of people who give money, who have super close ties to the president. And then there are also the career ambassadors. And those are people who came up through the State Department, and they're typically put in the toughest posts, places like Ukraine, Qatar, places that require a lot of military cooperation and intelligence knowledge and so forth. But the most important function of being an ambassador is having the direct ear of the president of the United States. The host government rather wants that. We want that. So that ambassador can pick up the phone and call Mr. President and tell him exactly what's going on. That is key. And that brings credibility to all of our ambassadors, regardless of which countries they're serving in. So this is actually pretty typical. People may not think so, but it really is.
It's a pretty good gig, though, right? Being ambassador. I mean,
hey, look, there's no greater honor than serving your country. I did it for a time. I absolutely loved it.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.